So I have a quote that I came up with back in 2020, and it goes like this. A drop in the ocean creates ripples. Many ripples create waves, and enough waves can change the tide. And no sooner have I realized that this was a very profound thing for me to say back in 2020, even when I didn't realize the exact impact of it until today. I mean, I have other amazing stories, but this one just blows them all away. Okay. One of my moms in my community had a home birth after a previous cesarean, and she had type 1 diabetes. She did this because last year she came into my Empowered Birth community, my Facebook group. And at the time when I was helping her, like, she was just trying to avoid a C-section. She just wanted to have a VBAC. And it wasn't even about having a home birth yet. It was just wanting to avoid that C-section. She desperately wanted a home birth. And at the same time, she had type 1 diabetes, and she didn't think that she'd be allowed. Learning what I have taught over the last few years, like, she basically binged on my videos that I'd already done. And then she also took some of my free trainings that I had inside the Facebook group when I was running my Empowered Birth workshops. One of them was Get Past Your Fear in 5 days or less. And she actually ended up buying the course from me from that point, because she's like, you know what? Like, this is so helpful, and I want to be able to go through it again. Now, the thing is that when I decided to do this, the first time, it was just because I was good and ticked off after the birth of my son, which yesterday marks the anniversary of when I got good and mad at the system, basically. I had my son, and I was still trying to be okay with his birth, but I wasn't. I was not okay, because that too small, tiny baby that might not tolerate labor was almost 8 pounds. Now, that wasn't a hard birth by any means. Like, now that I understand the physiological process, that was actually pretty easy. What was hard for me was fighting, begging, and trying to compromise with the medical system just to avoid a C-section. The part that really gets me and drives me crazy, and I saw this, another mom was kind of pushed into this. It was kind of triggering yesterday, and I had to breathe through it. Thank goodness for the tools that I have picked up in my communities with all of my coaching friends, and just being able to do that emotional regulation, because let me tell you, something like that would have been so devastating a few years ago. I would have just broken down in tears. I would have been sobbing inconsolably, because birth trauma never goes away. It never, ever goes away. It can get less over time, but you never forget your birth. You never forget how that power was stripped from you. You can have tools and be able to work through it and to reclaim your story, as this mom did, and as I did as well, and as a lot of women in my community have done, by having another baby. However, that first experience, you're still like, I got tricked. I still fell into that trap. I still crumbled under the pressure. I thought that I was going to be able to stand up for myself, and I didn't advocate hard enough. I didn't fight hard enough. Well, let me just tell you something that, like, I just have to say is, like, you don't have to freaking fight. You shouldn't have to fight at all. It's not fair that we are told, well, you just didn't fight hard enough. No, we shouldn't have to fight. We shouldn't have to beg. We shouldn't have to compromise. We shouldn't feel like we crumbled under the pressure. We shouldn't feel like that. We shouldn't feel like our power is stripped away from us. And yet that is the experience of so many women. So 10 years ago, when that happened to me as a strong, independent woman, I just did not know what impact yet I could make. All I knew was, this thing happened to me. I never want it to happen to me again. I'm going to do the work of making sure that this doesn't happen to me. So I dove deep into research, and I went into the birth community, and I was pulling back the curtain, and I was looking at all the mistakes that I had made, the mistakes that my friends were making as well. I saw it, and I've also been able to see patterns, and I've also had a little bit of experience in how the system is set to rig against us, specifically women. So as a woman, we already are at a disadvantage. Why? Because the systems were built back when we were literal property. I'm not saying that men don't try to help, because there are a lot of really good men out there that are doing their best. However, the thing is that you have to build things back up. You have to learn how to dismantle what's not working and then take it apart and recreate it. And this is what happens when basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make an impact here in my own way. At the time, I was just pissed off. And at the time, I just wanted moms to know about this. I wanted them to know so they wouldn't get tricked. So I went out there on my little soapbox, even though I was terrified of getting in front of anybody. And I started speaking out about this. And that then led to me getting into communities with other people that could help me to understand and refine my message. And eventually it got me into the virtual coach community. It got me into the groups that I'm in now. It got me with the friends that I have now to be able to understand the marketing that I needed to do to keep getting that message out there. But last year, when I was still perfecting that message, is when this mom came to me. Now, let me just tell you something really awesome. So you can really see how these little tiny drops in the ocean create the ripples that then create the waves. Okay. So this mom, as I said, she came into the community. She just wanted to avoid a C-section. She then learned that she could work through her fears. She then also learned about what was going on in the system, the limitations of her midwife, the traps that she fell into. One of them just being how we've been taught to think about birth and how we've been taught to think about natural birth and preparation for birth, and doing all of the things that then basically sabotage our bodies and make it so that birth doesn't work the way we think. We think we're broken. We go for the interventions. Like, that's basically the story of so many women. But what she ended up doing after that is she decided, you know what? I'm not just having a VBAC, I'm having a home birth. And I don't care that I have type 1 diabetes. I'm going to at least try. I deserve to be able to at least try. So she managed to find a midwife who would support her, whereas before, this midwife would not support type 1 diabetes. However, she was able to really stand in her power and say, no, like, I need the support and I'm going to get it. And the midwife was willing to at least try this out. This is another thing that a lot of my clients end up doing, and I teach them the skills so that they're able to do that. They're able to go out and they're able to find those care providers who are willing to maybe go against what's been taught just to see if this will work. Now, I just have to say, she not only had her beautiful home birth, but because she was able to do it, this is now allowed for the midwife to start supporting more type 1 diabetic mothers in the community. By me putting my information out there without any attachment to it, just wanting to do it from a place of service, this mom was able to find that. She was able to basically reclaim her power. And now she's creating ripples in her own community. Now, the thing is that you can do this in your own life. Every time that you shine your light on someone, every time that you share something that you have learned, something with wisdom, something that you take for granted even. It's like, well, I struggled with this too, and here's what helped. And I can empathize. When you do that, when you just put it out there with no attachment, this is what happens, is that suddenly someone else finds the light in them. The thing is that everybody has a light inside of them. They have that spark. They have that desire to do good in the world. They have that desire to do good, not just for themselves, but for others around them. They see the pain too. But we have also been taught, I'm just one person. What am I going to do? Yeah, the system really is screwed up. Yeah, all of us are getting traumatized. Yeah, it's really, really hard right now. Yeah, a lot of people are losing their jobs. What am I going to do? It's really scary out there. How am I going to make any bit of difference to this darkness that keeps coming in? Well, first of all, if you keep thinking that way, you're not setting up your light. Did you know that the more light that is around, the more the darkness can't get us? Do you know that the more good people in the world come forward and start sharing their gifts, the more that the evil in the world is overwhelmed and it can't keep growing? One of the things I really, really love is watching the movie Fern Gully with my kids. It's not even about Robin Williams as baddie. I mean, he's awesome. But did you notice there's a point where Hexus is just so big and so expansive, and Magi, the fairy that was probably the most powerful of all, she dies. And you think, oh, as a kid, you think, oh my gosh, that's so sad, like Magi dies. But the reason she did that is because those little flecks of light then went to every single one of the fairies. So the thing is that it can't just be one of us out there sharing our gifts. It's the impact. We're only on this planet for so long. We have a gift inside of us. You have a gift inside of you that if you don't share it before you die, nobody else gets it. So Magi knew she was old and she was going to share her gift before she died because she knew that the forces of evil, Hexus, was out there and he was going to decimate that rainforest. And so she's like, it's my time. I need to go. It's okay, though. I've got Krista, my little protege. But not only that, but I'm also giving the light to everybody else. And Krista then found the light in her hand. She knew. She goes and she takes that little seed and she goes to Hexus and she turns him into that tree. But first she gets swallowed. Like that sucked. But then everybody around saw that and they loved Krista. And they're like, wait, help it grow. And they all put their power ahead of that. So the thing is that we get so scared sometimes on shining our light or sharing our gifts or speaking out about things that matter, things that are really important. Because the difference between good and evil is that good grows and expands and helps people and shines light, and evil is what destroys that. Now, there's two different types of destruction. There's the destruction for destruction's sake, which is what Hexus was. He was the force of destruction. He was the force of, I just want everything burned to the ground and I want nothing to grow again. Ha ha ha, I'm all powerful in the name of profit, greed, convenience, whatever, personal fulfillment only with no benefit to anybody else. It's like, I don't care if everybody else suffers. I'm just going to be powerful. And then what are you going to do about it, little tiny fairy? I've got you. I've got you right where I want you. I've got this giant ass machine and I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to destroy everything. I'm not going to plant anything new. And that's one force of destruction. There's the other force of destruction, which as a Scorpio, I very much understand. And as a woman, I very much understand. I hope I didn't screw up that microphone for a minute there. I talk a lot with my hands. But the thing is that we are tied to birth and death as women. And as humans, we are also tied to birth and death. We have the cycles of birth and death in nature. But then there's more growth and transformation. As a Scorpio, I understand about rising from the darkness. And I understand that sometimes you need to let something die in order for something new to live. That is different. So I will destroy some things that no longer serve. Like, for instance, a societal structure that kind of hurts everybody in it, I'm perfectly happy to help tear that down so that something new can grow. Because the structures that hurt us, they need to be dismantled. There's still some good parts. We still need structure. We cannot have chaos. Don't get me wrong. We cannot have chaos. We cannot have overall control, though, either. We can't have the dark forces controlling everything. That doesn't work. That's when everybody suffers. Anyway, the thing is, though, is that the impacts that you make, you have to stop being afraid to make it. If you have a gift inside of you, you know it's going to help a lot of people. You have to be willing to be the one to stand up. And I used to be terrified. I used to be like, I'm just a mom. What if people don't like this? What if they get mad at me? What if somebody accuses me of something and they try to shut me down? And then one day I just saw the impact I was making, and I saw what this was doing for moms, and I saw the light that was being produced. And I'm like, you know what? I like to see them effing try. Because the thing is, I don't plan to go down without a fight. In fact, I had someone try to shut down my little blog before, and Facebook has actually tried to shut down my videos, albeit because of their algorithm and they're looking for inappropriate content, but still I was shut down. And you know what? This is why it's really important for you to not just focus on the technology itself, but also focus on building relationships with people. When you're wanting to make that impact, you need to know one thing. You need to connect to others. You need to connect to others who resonate with your message, and you need to connect with others who understand your message, may not necessarily be the ones that you're serving, but are going to look at you and say, that is amazing what you do. I don't have anybody that I can directly connect you with, but what you are doing is amazing and it's helping a lot of people. And I'm past that point, but I just remember what it was like for me, and good for you. That is what you want. You want people to be coming to you and saying, I wish I'd known this 30 years ago. I would have definitely needed you back then. Because then you know that you have light. And here's the thing about light, is that when you get into a group of other people who are all shining their light, that collective wisdom, it creates even more light. I am in the most amazing communities. I have the most amazing friends who are all out there shining their light. In fact, now when I'm looking for friends, I'm looking for those people who have that light inside of them. Maybe it's a tiny little spark, but it's there. And I know that if I nurture it, it's going to grow bigger. So you better believe that I am nurturing this light inside of this mama who has had this amazing home birth experience. And I am doing that with a lot of my community members now, because it's just so inspiring. And you can do that for anybody in your life. You can do that for a stranger on the street. You can go out and you can see someone who is down on their luck, and you can just look at them and you can give them a sandwich, and you can say, when you get back on your feet, pay it forward. That's what the pay it forward movement basically embodies for me. Like, that's how I feel about it. It's like, we're all here to shine our light. And that's really the message that I want to get across, is that we're all here to enjoy our life. The more you fill up your own cup with things that you're passionate about, like passionate about helping people, passionate about learning, passionate about picking up a new skill. Like, I get to learn the piano now, and I'm so excited to be able to do this, because that's another skill that I get to have, and I get to create some more value, not just for myself, but for other people. I'll be able to play, and someone's going to watch me and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I really love hearing you play. And I'm just going to be like, I feel so good because I get to play. Whereas I mostly just got to hear songs, I'll get to play them. Because you know what? Another thing that I noticed about moms in particular is we're told that once we become mothers, we can't have our dreams anymore. That we have to put our dreams on the back burner. That our dreams don't get to be utilized. Like we don't get to do anything until after our kids are grown. And a lot of moms, we start later in life. So we're in our 30s and our 40s and we're having our babies and we're raising our kids still. And then what? We have to wait until we're 60 to be able to play, to be able to learn things, to be able to dress up, to be able to feel good. No, no. Throw that out the window. I am not for mommy martyr syndrome. I am not for that at all. In fact, I have got some strong boundaries in what I will and will not allow. And I've got some strong boundaries when it comes to things that people try to tell me how I should parent now or how I should be as a mom. And they say, well, you know, you can't go out and you can't really want to go and get a new partner. Because if you do, I mean, what's that going to do for your kids? It's like, well, first of all, do you think I'm going to pick a partner that's not going to be nice to my kids? No. But I'm not going to let the fact that I have kids stop me from living my life. I can have both. As moms, we can have both. I'm not going to let the fact stop me that I have kids stop me from building a massive empire. No way. I can have both. I'm not going to let the fact that I have children stop me from living the most extraordinary life and going down to the beach when I want and to be able to learn skills and to dress the way that feels right for me. Just because I'm a mom, that's not all I am. I'm a human being, and we all are. We're all human beings. And our kids actually need us to have full lives. Because when kids see the message that mom and dad are just mom and dad, then they think that when they grow up, they can't be who they are. They're like, I guess I have to get serious now. I guess there's no more fun. So I'm going to try to cram all my fun in my 20s or in my teens, because as soon as I have kids, it's all over. Everybody's always saying, as soon as you have kids, it's all over. No, when you have kids, your life gets even more expansive because now you get to create that ripple effect with your children. So I get to create that ripple effect every single day just by teaching my kids, and not only teaching my kids, but also helping them go out and show their friends, because there's a little boy in my kid's school and his parents don't actually see his gift right now. And it's kind of sad. It makes me sad. But he's just this amazing little entertainer. And I told my son, it's like, you know, you might be that one friend that gets to tell him that he's amazing and encourage him to keep entertaining so that he doesn't grow up and think, I guess I have to get serious now and go and be an accountant, when really he's meant to be an entertainer. Because that's the other thing about parenting, is we're not here to mold our children and put them into a box. We're here to find their little gifts and nurture those gifts and let them have their own light. And when you let everybody have their light and you contribute to that light, that's when the darkness can't get you anymore. And we're in such a time of darkness right now. We're in such a time of fear. So I just want to let you know that, yeah, there's a lot of scary stuff happening out there, but you've got a light inside you, and that light is going to spark someone else and spark someone else and spark someone else. All you have to do is go and touch one person with your light, one person, and spark their light, and it just keeps going. It keeps going. And suddenly you start to see the path. You can start to see the impact that you're really making. And then you get onto your journey of what you're supposed to do. I didn't have any idea that I was going to get to this point when I started. All I wanted was to have a natural birth. All I wanted was to have that control. And when it was taken away from me, I got good and mad. This is what happens to me, is that I just want something, bad stuff happens, and then I get good and mad about it. I see a pattern. I see how something didn't work. I see a trap that I fell into. I get good and mad about it, and then I tell everybody about it. And then that seems to spark things. So whatever your gift is, I'm just going to encourage you to follow it, because that's where you're supposed to be. And at the end of your life, one of my mentors and good friends, Annie Lala, she even says, like, I just want to die a good death. Where at the end of my life, I know that I have done all my gifts. I've given them to the world, and now it's going to continue after I'm gone. So that's what you're here for. You don't want to just survive. You don't just want to wait for death. You want to be able to triumphantly sign your name to what you've been able to accomplish. So that even if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, you've put enough light into the world that people are just going to continue your gifts. They're going to continue your legacy after you're gone. They're going to say, well, they weren't able to finish this, but let's finish it for them. Let's continue this for them because it was so important to the world. We can't let that memory be in vain. That's what you want. All right. So I hope Facebook let this happen. I hope that it didn't get cut off. I'll have to see in a minute, but I will talk to you soon. And I love you. And yeah, go shine your light. Bye.